Let's talk about competency 6. All right, this is all about your vocal presentation. Avoid reading is the first thing, so just bracket that for a moment. We'll come back to it. So you want to think about your rate, your pace, your metronome. Okay, keep it moderate. And it depends on one's culture. Sometimes people are fast talkers depending on their region or where they're from, and sometimes they're slower. Okay, and it just depends. We're always informed by culture, and we'll talk about intercultural communication later on, but just know it's always through that cultural filter, and we're just sort of aiming for a moderate in between fast and slow. But if you were presenting in, say, New York City, where everything is fast-paced, there's walking and talking and fast pace, then you might speed it up a little. If you're in a rural area, it might be a little bit slower because culturally, time is a little bit slower, and that influences our communication. But we're kind of aiming for that in-between fast and slow. Okay. Think about expressiveness, pitch, and intonations. We will do some tongue twister warm-ups and vocal warm-ups where you get to practice intonations and enunciating and making that conversational. So your presentation will have a conversational flow to it. It won't be reading or memorized. We'll talk about the delivery style in the next competency, but we're just focused on conversational style. Okay. And you'll also look at some example presentations, so you'll have a better idea of what that means. And just also be aware that regarding pronunciation, the way that people speak can be influenced by, again, their culture or region. And keep in mind that we all have accents. Every single person has an accent. It just depends on who's listening. I have a Pacific Northwest accent. And when I went to Australia, I was told I have a Yankee accent. So we all have accents. Just something to be aware of, and that's perfectly fine. And we just work with our accents and work on clarity, and so an audience understands us. So when I was in Australia, I had to make sure people understand my Yankee accent. But saying that, we also need to adjust our hearing. So if you're hearing an accent that's not your accent, then adjust your hearing too. Think about how you can be an effective listener, because communication is coming together. It's about means with. That means you're communicating effectively by coming together. So the onus isn't just on the other person, okay? Also think about volume and intensity, so appropriate for the audience and the room size. So think about how loud you're being and how soft-spoken maybe. So I know I'm more of a soft-spoken person, so I have to remind myself to speak up, because it's not easy for me. All right, see you for the next competency.